What's going on, college hoops heads? This is another live stream on the Center Hub's YouTube channel and Twitter page. As I said, we are going to be doing these weekly, hopefully every Sunday night, not Sunday night, then definitely Monday nights. My name is Stephen Bagell. I'll be hosting this evening. I am joined by Andrew Schaeffer. For those of you who don't know, Andrew and I last week released our Last Week in College Basketball article where we talked about basically everything that happened in college basketball that maybe mainstream media isn't talking about. I think we did a great job going in depth in terms of maybe notable things that not a lot of people are talking about and really breaking those down. So we are going to be doing that again this week, every week going forward, actually. But you could expect a piece from us tomorrow. So we're going to be doing something similar here. We are going to be previewing this upcoming week of college basketball, but also recapping a little bit about what happened last week. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Happy to talk college basketball. Another week down. It was a great week of college basketball, and we have another great week coming up, so looking forward to it.
So let me ask you, we just came off a big week with a lot of ranked opponents. We had Louisville over Kentucky. We had Illinois over Texas Tech. We had Purdue over Alabama. We had Gonzaga over Creighton. Arizona over UCLA and UConn over BYU. And today we had Houston over Auburn as well. So out of these ranked opponents playing each other, did you come away more impressed with one team over the other? Which teams impressed you the most?
I think it's got to be Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so impressed. Listen, Creighton, we spoke to Greg McDermott at Big East Media Day.
Yeah.
And the big thing with Creighton was defensively, he said it was going to take some time because they lost Kalkbrenner, who was obviously one of the best defensive players maybe to ever play the sport. And, losing him was just a massive loss for them. Owen Freeman is not known for his defense. And Owen Freeman also was dealing with injury. Gonzaga just blew them out. I mean, I know the game was at the Kennel, and I know Gonzaga's great at home. But there were a lot of questions coming in with Gonzaga. They're a team that obviously plays in a weak league. They don't really play a lot of high-quality opponents except in the non-conference. They absolutely just blew the doors off Creighton. Mark Few's got a really good team. Graham Ike is, going to be a borderline All-American player, maybe even make the team. They've got a lot of talent. I was shocked how good Gonzaga was, honestly.
So Gonzaga right now, again, small sample size. It's they've played 4 games. They're number 4th in Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency. And with Gonzaga, typically, at least the last 7-8 years, they've been so offensive-centric. This year, they're 9th in offense, 4th in defense. The last time Mark Few's team was better than 4th defensively in the country was 2017. They went 37-2 that year, for what it's worth. They lost in the second round. That was actually, ironically, right before their Sweet 16 streak started. But, yeah, I guess that was the last year. But either way, Gonzaga's very offensive-centric typically. And, if they have as good of an offense as they have, paired with the defense we saw against Creighton, it's going to be scary. The other one I'll note is Arizona. Not that their win over UCLA was any more impressive than, Houston's win over Auburn or Purdue's over Alabama. But the fact that this was Arizona's second big win already, I think is notable. Obviously, they beat Florida on opening day. Now, they beat another top 15 ranked opponent. What day was that game?
That was a Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night I was somewhere. Let me pull up my schedule. I have not yet been able to really digest Arizona and UCLA and watch it.
So while you're doing that, Arizona, look, Tommy Lloyd has talked about scheduling tough. Yeah. He's talked about this openly. He wants bigger games. To beat Florida, who I know didn't have, obviously Walter Clayton's not there anymore. But Florida's still the defending national champs. I don't care, how you want to frame it. And UCLA, look, Donovan Dent was one of the biggest transfer acquisitions for any team. And UCLA didn't look great against their, bye games early in the season. But look, they won without Koa Pete basically doing anything. I mean, Koa Pete had 7 points and 6 turnovers, and they still won. I mean, Jaden Bradley was awesome. He was great. I mean, and again, I said it before, he's the most underrated point guard in the country. The guy's been incredible. And Arizona's got another tough game coming when they play UConn. So I think we're going to learn a lot about Arizona, but I think they have by far been the most impressive team through the first 2 weeks of the season.
So, and again, that a lot of that has to do with the very difficult schedule Tommy Lloyd has. Like, they win these games, then of course.
Right.
Let's pivot. You mentioned Greg McDermott, Creighton, when we talked about Gonzaga, but you and I were at Big East Media Day. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have the Villanova ties that cover all their games, but I preface that to say, in our article last week, we talked about the Mountain West and Mountain West, who got 4 bids and 6 bids the last 2 years in the NCAA tournament. They're in trouble with the first week of the season already, how they started. The Big East, for a conference that's trying to become more than a 3 or 4 bid league, had a very rough second week, I'll say. In terms of, sure, UConn beat BYU. St. John's, we know, is a top 10, 12 team in the country, if not better. After that, though, Creighton got demolished by Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Which, again, Gonzaga's good. I'm not really... Yeah, I'm not saying anything negative, but Creighton, it would have went a long way if they obviously had won that game. Marquette, we saw lose to both Indiana Sunday night or Sunday day, and then Maryland yesterday. So Marquette had 2 opportunities to get, a quad 1-ish.
Yeah, quality win.
Quality win, yeah.
Yeah.
Xavier obviously lost to both Santa Clara and Iowa. Who else is there?
Then you had Providence. Providence lost to Colorado and Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, I actually don't think is that going to be bad of a loss because I'm very.
I don't either, but you had the crowd. The game was in Connecticut. I mean, Providence had the crowd. Look, the Colorado game's inexcusable. I mean, you can't lose to a team in the bottom of the Big 12. That can't happen.
The point is, you need to stack up quality wins, and they haven't been able to. Do that. The Big East.
No, I mean the only team that really has been able to do that is Georgetown. I mean, honestly, I mean, Georgetown won at Maryland, and they just beat Clemson at home. Now, are Maryland and Clemson going to be great wins in March? I don't. They're going to be bubble teams, but you still got to beat those teams.
Yeah.
And Georgetown has done that.
Butler lost to SMU. Butler's not going to miss a tournament because they lost to SMU. But had they beaten SMU, it would have gone a long way in terms of, as we said, quality wins.
Yes.
So, for that reason alone, the Big East is in a little bit of trouble.
It's danger. I think you got to wait another 2 or 3 weeks and we'll probably know more. But I would say I think you're pretty safe with UConn and St. John's. I think it's safe to say they'll be in the tournament. I tend to believe Creighton's going to turn it around. I think Gonzaga's just that good, when it comes to Creighton. That 4th spot is interesting. I mean, Georgetown has looked good with the trio. KJ Lewis was awesome in the Clemson game. Played really well. I think he had 26 in that game. And Villanova, look, I mean, Villanova got tested last night against Duquesne for a little bit there. I think Villanova is probably them and Georgetown, to me, kind of have the front running for 4 and 5. And then, Marquette, look, Shaka's been very stubborn with the it's almost like a Dabo Sweeney thing where it's he's very anti-portal. And I just think it's going to come back to bite him. I've been saying this. I'm very curious if Marquette does struggle, what happens to Shaka? Because I think he's a great coach, but if you can't adjust, that's a huge problem. I don't care who you are. It's a big problem. So, and Providence, look, I agree with you. The Virginia Tech game is probably not going to mean a whole ton because I think Virginia Tech is probably going to be either on the bubble or in the tournament. They are that good. But Colorado was that was bad. You got people saying they want him out already. It's bad, that Colorado loss. But yeah, the Big East definitely needs to find a way to get some more quality wins outside of UConn and St. John's.
And Georgetown, obviously.
Correct. And then, yeah, correct.
So if I had to ask you right now, how many bids does the Big East get in March Madness? What would you say?
I'm going to go with 4. I went with 4 at the beginning of the year. I had UConn, St. John's, Creighton, and Marquette. I would take Marquette out personally at this time. I'd go with Georgetown. I think they have the wins. Now, Villanova, I think, is going to have a lot to say because I do like their team. I was concerned coming into the year with their size, their lack of it. But Duke Brennan has shown some flashes in the pan. I love Caden Lewis coming in. Kevin Willard has so much experience in the Big East. So I think Villanova could be right there on the bubble with Georgetown.
Let's quickly talk about some mid-majors and even low majors. I mean, we've seen some of these teams really come out and perform well. I mean, we know the hype that IU Indy is getting just because the style of play.
Yeah.
They've won 2 in a row, but LIU, a team who beat IU Indy for the first win of the season, they just beat Air Force at Air Force, which, again, I know Air Force is the bottom tier Mountain West team. They're still the Mountain West team.
Right.
And then LIU also beat James Madison this week. So, they're 3-1. They're led by Greg Gordon, who played at UAB last year. I don't think he played much at UAB because he was
he didn't play a ton.
Yeah, he was at Iona, I remember, the year before that.
Correct. Yep.
Rod
Strickland's done a hell of a job. He's done a great job. And look, he's a guy with NBA experience. He's obviously played in the league a long time. They're the favorites in the Northeast Conference. There's no question. And if they get there, he's looking at a promotion for another job. It's just how it goes.
And there's Central Connecticut in that same conference who beat an ACC team. Again, I know it's Boston College, but either way, they're led by Melo Sanchez, who was at actually Hawaii Pacific, the team who beat Boise State in the season opener. And then he was a walk-on, or redshirt rather, at Arkansas last year for Calipari.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, no, the Northeast Conference, and I think Mercyhurst beat Loyola.
Yeah.
A couple weeks. So that conference is putting together some nice wins, and that's a conference that historically is in the play-in game on Tuesday, in that 16 seed play-in game. But I think you got to give them credit. That league is finding ways to get some high quality wins for their league.
Yeah, and then obviously we would be remiss if we didn't mention New Orleans, who's in the Southland, which has been dominated by McNeese the last couple of years. Now they have wins at TCU and at Tulane, and Tulane's a team that I was really high on coming into the year.
I agree. I love what was done.
Getting those 2 road wins is incredibly difficult for New Orleans.
Yeah, and this is a program, too, that, was going through that gambling scandal that's been ongoing in the point shaving incident. They had a lot of bad PR around them, and for them to get those 2 wins, I think is really good for their program. And, maybe they'll be a threat to McNeese in the Southland.
And then, obviously, the OVC. We're going to talk more about it in our piece this week, and we have another article coming out later this week. But Jeremy Schulman and not only UT Martin in the OVC, but SIU Edwardsville as well. And this is a conference you wrote for the magazine. UT Martin has wins at UNLV and at Bradley. Those are 2 incredibly difficult places to play. And they're playing at Florida State on Tuesday. We'll have to see how they go. And Edwardsville beat UTSA, and they beat Drake. Again, 2 programs that should handily be beaten at Edwardsville.
Yeah, and they go to Wisconsin. I think it's tomorrow or Tuesday. I know this week they go to Wisconsin, which is a game, obviously, I'm not expecting them to pull off. I mean, you're playing a high-level Power 5 team. I'm curious to see how competitive they can make that game. And Brian Baroni's done a great job. I mean, last year they were in the NCAA tournament. When I spoke to him in the summer, I had asked him, because, making the tournament is one thing, but to do it back-to-back years, and they didn't win the regular season last year. They finished second. Southeast Missouri State won the regular season title. So I think the goal for them is, they want to win both. They want to win the regular season and the conference tournament in the same year, because I think that would do a lot for Brian Baroni and that program. And, for UT Martin, I mean, it's just been a hell of a run. I'm so stunned at how well Jeremy Schulman has done. And he's got matchup nightmares. Those European kids, they're so crafty. And, Florida State's a challenge because that's a team that loves to score, a team that's got a lot. Robert McCray's been awesome for Florida State. Yeah. I don't, again, no disrespect to Jeremy Schulman. I don't expect him to go into Tallahassee and win that game. But then again, I didn't expect him to beat UNLV or Bradley. So they keep proving us wrong. And I have a piece coming out early this week about their success and what they've done. And you know, he's a great guy, and I couldn't be happier for him and the Skyhawks.
So then we have the WCC's dominance. Again, we already talked about Gonzaga, but
Yeah.
like we also alluded to Santa Clara beating Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
And then St. Mary's is really good. Like St.
Yeah.
Mary's is 4-0. They
Mm-hmm.
went from 55 to 24 in Ken Palm, and like they had 4 quality opponents. They beat
Oh,
St. Thomas, who's the favorite in the Summit. They beat Chattanooga, who I had as favorite in the SoCon. They beat Ohio, who's favorite in the MAC, and then they beat North Texas. Like that's 4 quality wins.
No, the Gales are really good. And look, Randy Bennett is just a model of consistency. I mean, every year they're in the tournament. They have these great international bigs, and they just find ways to win games. I mean, to beat those teams comfortably. I mean, they weren't even close games, and they blew them out. I mean, I think St. Mary's looks like a top 25 team right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned Santa Clara, like Herb Sendick has been there a while. He has a model of consistency with that program. You know, maybe they can make the WCC a 3-bid league this year, which hasn't happened in a while, but, you know, maybe it could happen. You know, San Francisco beat Bradley yesterday. I know Conrad Pasquale was there for us. You know, San Francisco, I think, is a team that a lot of people thought was going to be third. Now it looks like they're leaning towards fourth. And then obviously Gonzaga is going to lead the way. But I think this is a stronger league at the top than in years past. So,
yeah, I mean, definitely not a 1-bid. Like we talk about now, the Mountain West is maybe a 2-bid league. I think there's a better shot West Coast Conference probably gets more than 2 bids than the Mountain West does, at least early on.
I would say, at least based on the results so far, I would agree with you. The thing is, in those leagues, in order to get the at-large bids, you're going to have to take down the big guns. Yeah. So, like, you're going to have to beat Gonzaga and St. Mary's. And then in the Mountain West, you're going to have to beat San Diego State or potentially Utah State, who I think is probably the second best team in the Mountain West this year. Those are probably the 2 teams. After that, the Mountain West is kind of a mixed bag, I think, to say the least. I mean, there's been tons of losses in that league, including New Mexico losing to New Mexico State the other night. So it's kind of been erratic. But yeah, I would say right now, if you're asking me, I would say it's 2 for each league at the moment. I think Santa Clara is knocking on the door, but I just need to see it a little bit more because, like, as good as people want to say Xavier, when Xavier has not looked very good.
Yeah. Xavier's not even top 100 in Ken Palm right now.
Which is embarrassing for a Power 5 program.
So I'll very briefly touch on games I covered. I did Temple and LaSalle. I believe that was on Monday. Either way, I did Temple LaSalle. Yesterday, I did the Autumn Invitational on Broad, which was Syracuse versus Drexel, LaSalle versus Penn State. What I'll say is LaSalle's not good. Like, Temple killed them. Penn State killed them. Like, they're definitely bottom tier in the A10.
Yeah, them and Fordham. Yeah.
Penn State might be a little bit better than I actually anticipated going to the year. Like, I thought they were going to be one of the worst power conference teams there is, like, in the country. Again, it's tough to measure them when they play a game against LaSalle, like, as a measuring stick. But they have 8 freshmen, but, like, that's a little misleading given a lot of them have international playing experience. And then Syracuse, I think Syracuse is good. And, like, Andrew, I know you're an alum.
Yeah.
I just never knew how much I bought into what Red Autry was going to be as a coach. But, like, in terms of talent, Kyan Anthony is awesome.
Oh, he's great.
Donnie Freeman has taken a huge step.
Yeah.
And the guard play, like, J.J. Stalling didn't even play yesterday, but, like, Nathan George, Nate Kings, I don't remember playing much yesterday.
Yeah, he's been kind of struggling a little bit. I like Tyler Betsy, the kid from Cincinnati, who they got.
William Kyle was great yesterday.
He's been great. I mean, the thing Syracuse lacked last year was a center that actually could defend, because Eddie Lampkin was not a defensive guy. William Kyle's been great. I mean, I think the thing that's good for Syracuse is they're without their best player, and they're still finding ways to win. Now, I know it's against, again, Drexel, Binghamton, and Delaware State, but last year Syracuse could barely beat Lemoyne, Colgate, Youngstown State, Cornell. I mean, they struggled. Now we're seeing the old Syracuse, which is, okay, you play these low mid-major teams, and Drexel, you blow them out. And I'm just very curious. They don't really have to rush Starling back, but then again, they play Houston in 2 games, so you kind of need him to play against Monmouth because you don't want him going in cold against Houston. So I will say this. I think Syracuse is better than people thought. I think offensively, they have a lot of talent in that room. It's a tournament caliber team. But the question is going to be against higher level teams, how do they handle it? Because I know they can do it against the lower teams, and that's great. But I need to see it. They get Houston, Kansas. They have another Vegas game, so they have 3 games in the Players' Era, and then they get Tennessee. So we're gonna know a lot more about Syracuse over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I do think they're gonna be, a top half of the league ACC team. It's looking like which is I think a very good sign for them.
What about Michigan? Given the fact that a lot of people anticipated Michigan as a legitimate Final Four contender.
I picked them to go.
So. Yeah, I had them ranked somewhere on the top 10 in terms of preseason rankings, but they beat the crap out of Oakland in the season opener, win by 43. After that, Tuesday, they needed OT to handle Wake Forest, who is not, your mom and pop's Wake Forest team in the last couple of years. And then they beat TCU by 4. Again, they're undefeated to 3-0. They won at TCU, so that does mean something. But TCU just lost to New Orleans at home. They're not a good power conference team this year. So, does the fact that Michigan won by a combined 5 points to Wake Forest and TCU concern you?
Yeah, of course it's concerning. I mean, TCU, like you said, they just lost to New Orleans, and they almost lost to Lamar. So, yeah, I'm definitely concerned. I know there's been a lot of discussion in our TCH group chat about the use of Yaxel Lendeborg, and whether Dusty May is using him properly or not. Dusty May is one of the best coaches in America. I fully trust that he'll figure it out. My concern with Michigan has been the last 2 games against Wake and TCU, they've combined for 39 turnovers. That can't happen. When you have 39 turnovers in 2 games, that is not good. And Elliot Cadeau, has not, he played great in the exhibition game against St. John's. He looked good. He had 9 assists in that game, but the last 2 games combined, he has 11 turnovers.
Yeah.
You're not going to win a lot of games with your starting point guard having 11 turnovers in 2 games. He's got to take better care of the ball. And I think for Michigan to really get where they want to get to, Elliot Cadeau has to cut down on the turnovers, and Yaxel Lendeborg has to become that alpha, that go-to guy, which I know people are saying, well, maybe he's not that guy. I think he is. I think he's that good. He's a top 15, 20 player in the country when everything is going right for him. But he's got to be aggressive more. I think he's got to do some more for them. But 39 turnovers is bad, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's preview this upcoming week.
Sure.
I'm just going to go by day. I'm going to start with Monday. Not the best slate in terms of games, but there's still some quality games. The main one is VCU at NC State. Again, I don't know how much it matters for VCU given the A10's been a one bid league and will probably continue to be. If VCU gets that win and then does well in the A10, they probably have a shot at an at-large.
Yeah, they'll have an outside case. Yeah, they'll have an outside case, but I tend to agree with you. The A10 is looking like a one bid league again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them because of the disappointment with Loyola and some other things, but I think it'd be huge for Phil Martelli Jr. if they can go in there and win it because it's a program building win for a new coach and it gets the players to buy in more. Now, am I anticipating them winning that game? No. I think NC State is really good. NC State's a top 20-ish team, that probably, let's face it, they haven't played much. I mean, they played UAB and they played I forgot who else they played. I think UNC Greensboro they might have played. They haven't played a tough schedule yet. VCU is a much tougher opponent, so we'll see what NC State has. I think NC State should have no problem winning this game anyway.
And then Oregon State at Oregon is a fun. Oregon State's just always a team that seems underrated, and Tinkle always finds a way to get the most out of whoever he has. Their win over North Texas the other day was
Yeah,
Like they had no business even winning that game, and they found a way.
No, the Chris Webber.
I think it was more North Texas lost that game than Oregon State won it. But either way, a win's a win sometimes. I'm going to be at the Palestra tomorrow night for St. Joe's at Penn for a Big Five matchup.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Drake at Charleston is fun. I still don't think Mr. Dean has made a season debut yet.
I do not believe he has played yet. No.
Oakland, shout out to Greg Campy. They're playing at UCF.
And Oakland can win that game.
Yeah, Oakland can win that game, and like
absolutely can.
UCF just beat Texas A&M, so like they might be better than we thought.
I know.
And Oakland played the first 3 games at Michigan, at Purdue, at Houston. Like Greg Campy's a sicko.
Crazy.
Otherwise, Colgate at Siena might have some appeal. Siena's one of the favorites in their conference. Colgate is traditionally the Patriot League favorite. Right. Tuesday is where it gets fun. The Champions Classic at Madison Square Garden this year. Michigan State versus Kentucky, Duke versus Kansas. It seems like Darren Peterson is going to be out for Kansas in that game.
Yeah.
So that lost some of the appeal that we're not getting Kane Boozer versus Darren Peterson. But I don't know. I know Michigan State beat Arkansas. I'm still not super high on them. Kentucky, I know Kentucky lost to Louisville, but Louisville's good. I don't think that's a.
I mean, the issue with Kentucky is we don't really know the status of Jalen Lowe with the shoulder injury. Quaintance is still trying to figure himself out with his injury. I know Kentucky has a lot of talent. Aberdeen and those freshmen are really good. I know Michigan State doesn't wow a lot of people because they don't really have that like star player per se. I agree with you. I'm not as high on Michigan State. I think they're better than what I thought, considering they beat Arkansas. Am I still impressed with Michigan State as like a dangerous team? Not really. They're only dangerous because of Izzo, in my opinion. He's what makes the engine go, you know? I think Michigan State's going to try to make that a grinder against Kentucky.
Yeah.
And Tom Izzo is great in those spots. So I think I would take Michigan State in that game, as shocking as that sounds. The Duke-Kansas game, it lost a lot. I mean, with Peterson being out, and I get what Bill Self's doing. He doesn't want to push Peterson now when you're going to need him 3-4 months down the road for the NCAA tournament and Big 12 play. So I understand the decision by Bill Self to do that. But it's going to put a lot of pressure on, Flory Bidunga and Cole Rosario and Melvin Council. Like, it's going to put a lot of pressure on those guys to be able to match up with Duke and what Duke has been able to do so far.
So I'm assuming you're taking Duke over Kansas with Peterson out?
I am. I'm taking Duke, and I'll take Sparty. I just don't think Kentucky's that healthy right now. I'm a little bit concerned with Jalen Lowe being out. I just don't know. Because if Michigan State gets the game at their pace, I don't know if Kentucky can grind it out. Listen, Kentucky's the more talented team. I'm not questioning the talent level. I just think Michigan State's going to get the game at their pace in an ugly, 70-65 type game. And I'm going to take Izzo.
I want to believe in Michigan State because, again, I was so low on them last year, and I was just flat out wrong. So,
Me too.
You will be again.
Yeah, I've been low on them for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Otherwise, Tuesday we have Towson at JMU is a super fun one for the mid-major sickos. Wichita State at Boise State. I know Boise State lost to Hawaii Pacific, but they were still projected to be a top 3 team in the Mountain West. And Wichita State's a team I'm still pretty high on. I think the defensive upside is still pretty high. Little Rock and Murray State. Andrew, obviously you cover the OVC. I know Little Rock has some guys out for the year, but
they're in a tough spot right now. I mean, with their 2 guards out, I was higher on them because I trusted that Darrell Walker with a ton of NBA experience, but it's been a tough go so far. And, maybe it's just one of those years where they just don't have the depth to handle it. And I know Darrell Walker mentioned they were going to rely a ton on the defensive end of the floor. But we'll see. Murray State's really good. I mean, they get up and down, and I would expect Murray State to win that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like Murray State brought a lot of Essentially, yeah, high major talent, like from
Yeah.
trade-in, from
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wednesday, we have Arizona at UConn. If Arizona finds a way to beat UCLA, Florida, and add UConn to start the year, like that, like
Well, to me, they should be the #1 team in the country if that happens. I mean, I get it. They're not
yeah.
like I know AP polls don't really matter that much. I think we all know that at this point. But with that resume, I like how do you ignore what they've done if they go into stores or wherever they're playing, I think stores, and beat UConn.
To be fair, I had them 17th in my preseason rank.
Okay.
After this week, for my article I released Tuesday mornings for my top 75 teams, I'm going to have them probably 4th.
Yeah, they're top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think
But
there's any question.
then if they then win at UConn, then obviously you have to reevaluate that.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, Purdue, Houston, and UConn all beat ranked teams as well, so
Yes,
you have to
they
factor
did.
that in. But so Arizona at UConn. I'll be that day Villanova at LaSalle. I'm covering Villanova. Like they should have no issue winning that game. They just beat Duquesne. I know that was a home game for them, and LaSalle's a road game. But like you gotta handily win that game if you're.
Yeah, you gotta listen. You were at the LaSalle game Saturday. I would think Villanova should have no problem beating LaSalle, even though the game's on the road. They should have no issues beating LaSalle.
There's Dayton and Marquette, which like Marquette needs to win that game. They just lost, as we said, to Indiana and to Maryland. They have to win the home game against Dayton.
Yeah, I mean Dayton just lost to Cincinnati, so I think they're both kind of in a situation where they both need the game. I do agree with you. Since Marquette's at large case is probably going to be more likely because they're in a Power 5 league, I would say it's a must win for Marquette. They've got to find a way to do something because everybody thought, we were worried about Chase Ross, and then he actually played really well against Maryland. He had 31 points. The rest of them didn't show up. And then Sean Jones is in a sling. He's out. So Marquette needs that game desperately. I think they'll get it against Dayton, but it's a game that they need to have.
In Cincinnati, we said Dayton lost to them. Cincinnati's only beating Mount St. Mary's by 4 right now, with less than 10 minutes left in the game. So that's something we'll have to monitor. UC Irvine at Utah Valley is a super fun game. Again, they're both one bid leagues, so it doesn't matter. But like in terms of seeding, it absolutely matters.
Oh yeah.
Alabama versus Illinois in Chicago. Illinois, I didn't even have in my top 25 preseason. Obviously, they just beat Texas Tech. Like, that's just wrong. I think they're 6th in KenPom right now. Illinois, if they beat Arizona, and that's, not Arizona, Alabama, that's basically a home game for them in Chicago. So,
yeah, I mean, Alabama's got to find a way to bounce back after that loss to Purdue. Illinois had a nice win over Texas Tech, so it should be a good game. I'm expecting a high up and down game, a lot of offense. Nate Oates' concern was his guards were not able to rebound against Purdue. They're going to need to do that against Illinois. I would take Illinois just because, again, home crowd advantage. Even though the game's not in Champaign, it's in Chicago, it's going to be mostly an Illinois crowd. I think Illinois finds a way to win that game over Alabama.
I'd be more concerned for Alabama if they didn't beat St. John's, but like they already have that one quality when then Purdue was ranked number 2 in the country. And was that was a home game for Alabama, wasn't it? Purdue.
Correct.
Yeah. So again,
Nate Oates has lost 5 straight home games against ranked opponents. So it's a little bit concerning, but I think we all still believe that Alabama is going to be very good. I don't think there's any like major concerns with them other than that they can't play defense, and we've known that under Nate Oates for a while.
And then we have on Wednesday Arkansas State at St. Mary's. Conrad will be there. And USF at Oklahoma State. That's a fun.
That's a tough game.
Like, USF is really good. They just, at Kennesaw State, they put up today 108 points. USF. Oklahoma State, we saw already beat A&M. Like, that's going to be a really fun game that no one's talking about.
It's another high-scoring affair. I mean, Oklahoma State can score. I think South Florida can win that game. I mean, I absolutely believe in what Brian Hodgson is doing. I've been a big Brian Hodgson supporter since he was at Arkansas State. Um, I think that's a guy that if South Florida gets into the NCAA tournament, he will be a Power Five coach next year. I'm pretty much in belief with that.
And then Thursday, it's you put in the show notes Baha Mar in the Bahamas. Is that the Baha Mar Invitational?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up.
Yeah. So Memphis, I know, just got smoked by UNLV, which is just an embarrassment for Penny. Um, I can't imagine they're going to bounce back from that loss and find a way to beat Purdue. But college basketball is a crazy thing. Um, but yeah, there's some good MTEs, and some good games coming for sure.
So I'm trying to find the Baha Mar bracket.
Yeah. So as far as I know, Memphis plays Purdue and Wake Forest plays Texas Tech. Um, Wake Forest, I think, is a team that I think is better than what we thought in the ACC. I mean, they took Michigan to the wire, even though Michigan had 20 or 17 turnovers in that game. Wake Forest should have won that game. No matter how you want to cut it, they should have won. Texas Tech, JT Toppin looked great against Illinois. Christian Anderson's really good. Lawan Watts, like they have a lot of talent. I just worry sometimes with Texas Tech about their depth a little bit. I know it was a concern coming into the season for a lot of people. Texas Tech should beat Wake. Purdue should beat Memphis. I don't know the bracket. Do you have it?
I think it's just those 4 teams.
Okay, so if that's the case, then that would be
Pink Flamingo Championship. Is that women's?
I believe so.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so then it's just those 4 teams.
Right. Yeah, it looks like it's just those 4 teams. So you could potentially get Purdue, Texas Tech, which would be an awesome game with JT Topping against Trey Kaufman, Wren, Christian Anderson versus Braden Smith. And Grant McCaslin thrives in that underdog role. So that would be great. And Wake Forest Memphis really isn't a bad game by any stretch. It's just obviously doesn't have as much juice because it's 2 unranked teams. But Baja Mar is usually more than 4, I thought. But I guess it's only 4 this year because everyone's playing in the Players Era.
And then we have, what's the tournament in Kansas City?
Yeah, so that's New Mexico, Nebraska, and then Mississippi State, Kansas State. So Nebraska beat Oklahoma, and I think they might even be better than what we thought. New Mexico just lost to New Mexico State, so I don't know. Again, another Mountain West team that's kind of all over the place. Mississippi State took the tough loss to Iowa State, which I don't think anyone was surprised by that. I do know that I think they barely beat Southeastern Louisiana yesterday by 7 or 8 points. So, and then Kansas State beat Cal the other night. But we know Kansas State with PJ Haggerty and so it's an interesting event. I mean, you have 3 teams: Kansas State, Mississippi State, Nebraska, that could all be bubble teams. And New Mexico's kind of that, the Eric Olin's there, new coach. They're trying to figure some things out. So, we'll see. But it's another NTE, and Kansas State clearly is going to have the crowd because the game's in Kansas State.
And then obviously Pitt versus UCF, that's at Daytona Beach. That's the Legends Classic, which is traditionally in Brooklyn, actually, ran by the Gazelle Group. It's in Daytona Beach this year. Then St. Joe's had UNLV. Lost a lot of luster after UNLV's tough start to the year. I know they just beat Memphis today, but
yeah.
Friday, Virginia and Northwestern, and then South Carolina versus Butler, both in West Virginia. Virginia should win that. I mean, Northwestern's good, don't get me wrong. They're a bubble team, but Virginia, again, I have them ranked in my top 25. So
no, Virginia's look, Virginia is a team that a lot of people, I think, thought was the sleeper in the ACC. Ryan Odom's got a really good team with Malik Thomas. Tyster Ritter's looked really good. The freshman, big. Grunlow has looked good as well. Butler was pretty competitive against SMU. I think a lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. I still think Virginia is the team to beat in that tournament there. And I think Virginia needs to find a way to win those games.
Yeah. Especially like we talked about like NC State earlier, like needing to beat Dayton. It's just going to help the ACC go a long way.
Yeah.
Charleston has some fun matchups. Utah State versus Tulane. Utah State has to win that one, obviously. For the Mountain West. West Virginia at Clemson. Clemson probably needs it more than West Virginia does just because they already lost to Georgetown. So, like,
I would agree. I would agree. Remember, West Virginia just beat Pitt, just blew them out.
Yeah.
Clemson needs, again, when you're an at-large team in these Power 5 leagues, you need to beat Power 5 opponents on your non-conference schedule. So Clemson needs to win this game. I think Clemson needs it more than West Virginia.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I will take Clemson to bounce back and beat West Virginia in that game.
And then we have Georgia versus Xavier. Georgia needs that one. Georgia's been awesome this year so far. They're up to like 34 and KenPom because they're just blowing out their opponents. But like their opponents, they should be blowing out, so good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, I'll be at the DAC for Penn and Drexel. Otherwise, Wisconsin versus BYU is a very good matchup between two top 25 teams. That's in Salt Lake City, so it's basically a de facto home game for BYU. Then Louisville at Cincinnati. If Cincinnati wins that one, they're sitting pretty in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, this is another team that's, coach is fighting for his job.
Yeah.
We know Louisville's a really talented team. I mean, what they did to Kentucky and what they've done so far, with their backcourt with Michael Brown and McNeely and Woolley and the other guy's escaping me, Conwell. Those guys have been great. I think the question coming into the year was the health of the bigs, right? Which is what I had said in the magazine with Khalifa and Pryor and Frew. And then, Cincinnati again. Like I think Cincinnati's going to need that win a lot more. Obviously, I think Louisville's pretty safely in the tournament. I don't think anyone's concerned about Louisville. I think Cincinnati needs. I don't think they're going to get it, but I think they need to. If they can, that would be great for their at-large resume. Yeah,
I tend to agree. This weekend, not a phenomenal slate by any means, especially after what we got this weekend. Providence versus Penn State in Connecticut. Both teams need that. Again, I think Providence needs it more given they already have, 2 losses for opponents they needed to beat in terms of an at-large bid. And I think they have a better shot at an at-large bid despite the 2 losses because I don't think Penn State's anything special.
I agree.
North Alabama at Chattanooga is really fun. North Alabama just played ETSU in the Ace on SoCon Challenge, and they were up, I think, 16 with 3 minutes left, and ended up losing the game. So,
again, and North Alabama travels to Clemson this week. I know. I think that's Tuesday night or Wednesday. I'm not sure. I know they play Clemson on the road. So North Alabama is going to get a test there before they go to Chattanooga. The SoCon, honestly, has been one of the more disappointing leagues to this point. The league has really struggled. Furman took a big, they got blown up by High Point. It's been a struggle for the SoCon. I mean, you would know better than me. You wrote it for the magazine. It's really been a struggle for them.
Yeah, and that's one of the contentions we're going to be talking about in our piece that's being released tomorrow for last week in college basketball. So, the SoCon's really struggling. And, again, it's a one big league, so, does non-con really matter?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's been very rough, especially, Chattanooga, a team who just won the NIT last year. San Fran versus Minnesota in CU Fall. Minnesota just lost to Missouri. San Fran just lost to Memphis. So, we talked about a potential 3-bid WCC. San Fran's going to have to win this game if they want that after losing to Memphis. If they want that to
and Minnesota just went to overtime last night against Green Bay.
Yeah.
on a half-court shot that didn't count, which was kind of a crazy ending. And then, yeah, like we said, if the WCC wants other than Gonzaga or St. Mary's, San Francisco has to find a way to win this game in Sioux Falls. Now, obviously, Minnesota is going to be the home team, given that the game's in South Dakota, but San Francisco can beat Minnesota. Minnesota's a bottom-feeding Big Ten school that Nico Medved needs time to rebuild for sure. But I think San Francisco has a legitimate chance to win this game.
So then we have Northern Iowa at UC Irvine. Is another fun Saturday game. Sunday, again, like the schedule's pretty rough. You have Virginia versus Butler. Again, that West Virginia tournament. Virginia versus Butler. South Carolina versus Northwestern. Virginia and Northwestern should win both those games. It wouldn't shock me if South Carolina beat Northwestern.
Right.
But Northwestern's going to be the better team. Then you have McNeese versus GW in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, that mid-major game should be good.
Yeah.
McNeese is a team that I think, after Will Wade left, I think people were wondering if McNeese would stay up there. And then, I think the hiring of Bill Armstrong, is that who they hired? Has been really good. Yeah, was a great hire. And GW, look, a lot of people were high on GW this year. I think Chris Caputo just got a contract extension from them. And, he's got a lot of talent there. And, people were talking about Dayton and VCU and St. Louis, but like GW was kind of that sleeper team. Now with Loyola kind of out of the picture in the short term, I think it does open the door for GW to kind of take a stride here. McNeese would go. I mean, look, I think GW's got to win this game if they want any sense of an at-large case. I'm not saying they're going to get one, but McNeese is in the Southland. I know McNeese is better, than most typical Southland teams, but GW, I think, needs to find a way to win this game.
And GW already has a win against USF, and we just talked about how good USF potentially could be. So that does matter. Yeah.
The problem for them is they're in the A10. That's the problem. They're not in a Power 5 league, and the A10 is strong. I mean, just look, like you said, LaSalle has struggled, Fordham has struggled, Loyola has been maybe the most disappointing team in the country. I mean, outside of Navy Xavier, but it's been a struggle for Loyola. Dayton had an opportunity, lost to Cincinnati. So I think, every year we go in hoping that these mid-major leagues can become multi-bid leagues, and every year it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, even the Mountain West, as I said, got 10 bids the last 2 years combined.
Yeah, I mean, the Mountain West really and the WCC are the only mid-major leagues that have really gotten multiple bids. Outside of that, it has been a struggle. And I think people thought the A10 was that next league. And even the American, people thought those were the next two leagues, because the Valley, I think, is a little bit below that tier. But when you look at the American and and whatever other league I forget, and the A10, those two leagues, you thought, okay, maybe they can get Dayton and St. Louis or GW and somebody. And in the American, you're thinking, okay, Memphis should be in, based on what's happened. Maybe South Florida can find their way in, but it's just Memphis just lost to UNLV today. That just can't happen. And let's face it, the American, Wichita State, you mentioned it. It's a team that I think a lot of people are expecting improvement from this year. Tulane is a team I think you and I were both very high on. And even Temple. Temple just lost to Boston College. I know it's BC, but if you want to get more teams in, you've got to win those types of games. And it's just not happening for these leagues.
No. Even in some of these power leagues, it's not happening. I mean, we already talked about the Big East. So
I know. I mean, them too. Look, Xavier lost to Santa Clara. I mean, Seton Hall barely escaped Wagner. DePaul lost to Buffalo.
Yeah. And Northwestern.
Yeah. I mean, again, the Big East has a lot of work to do. Can they fix it? Yeah, of course they can fix it. They've got to just start winning some games. Now, I think what's going to help them next year is the rev share. When all that stuff starts to, you would know better than me, but when that stuff starts to kick in, the Big East, I think, will start to make its way back to what it was.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this year, with Creighton kind of, losing some of their top end guys, and Villanova had a coaching change, and we all know when coaching changes happen, culture turnover, roster turnover, stuff happens. And Providence and Marquette have been disappointing. There's no question. I mean, those are two teams that I think people thought. I mean, look at it, preseason, they were picked 4th and 5th in the league. And now it looks like they might finish, based on 2 weeks, 6th and 7th? Basically, you're flip-flopping Providence and Marquette and Georgetown and Villanova. And I think that's a disappointment for the league. No disrespect to Georgetown and Villanova, but it's a disappointment for Marquette and Providence fans, Providence fans especially, who I think, are some of the more passionate on social media. And, they like to say what they want to say, and that's totally fine. But I'll be honest, I didn't love the Kim English hire from the beginning. I was never a fan of it myself. Doesn't mean he can't turn it around, but I think with the amount of money they spent on that roster, which rumored is $10 million, if they really did spend $10 million on this roster, getting Jason Edwards, getting Duncan Powell, getting the other kid whose name's escaping me, Sellers.
Jalen Sellers.
Yeah, Sellers. Getting those kids, if they can't get in, I don't know what you do at that point. What are you going to do?
And they were, 4th in the Big East poll?
Yeah, 4th in the poll. Yeah, they were ahead of Marquette, ahead of Villanova, and ahead of Georgetown. And Providence has not gotten it done. And, that's the thing. You got to beat these teams. They barely beat Holy Cross. I mean, it hasn't been pretty so far for Kim English, and those fans are tough. That's a tough group of fans up there in Rhode Island.
Yeah. They did beat Penn, though. I will say that.
And they have an opportunity against Penn State that they have to win. You got to win that game. Penn State looked good against LaSalle, but LaSalle is not great. I think we can agree. You were there. It wasn't pretty. Penn State is a Power 5 team. Yes, it's a bottom basement, whatever you want to call it in the Big Ten. But Providence needs to win that game. There's just no way around it. You lose that game, I don't know how you recover, because then you're banking on you're going to have to beat St. John's, Creighton, and UConn in Big East play, or Georgia. You have to win games you're not technically supposed to. That's how you make up those bad losses, by winning those games that you're not favored in. So you're going to have to beat Wisconsin. So I think by losing those games, it makes it that much tougher for Providence.
Yeah. Okay. I think that pretty much concludes everything I had. Angel, is there anything else that you wanted to? I think we did a good job covering it. Yeah,
I think we covered everything. We do have some stuff being posted, as Steven said. His top 75 comes out tomorrow. We have a week review of last week for tomorrow, and then I have an article on UT Martin on Tuesday with Jeremy Schulman. So be on the lookout for all of that. I know Steven also just did a Bird Rights podcast that I know will either go up. I think it'll go. I don't think it's up yet, right? It'll go up some point.
It'll go up tomorrow.
Okay, so
by the time people wake up, it'll be up.
Okay, there you go. So be on the lookout for that. We also have another article coming out Wednesday for a draft review on Caleb Wilson, which I think Zach probably did. Zach, I'm sure, did a great job. So be on the lookout for that. Steven's going to be covering games all week. You can follow him on Twitter and, go read that stuff. He's going to be in a lot of games.
Almost every day this week, basically.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for me, my next game is the Black Friday game at the Garden with UConn, Illinois, and so I have some time to rest.
I'm doing St. Joseph Penn Monday, Tuesday.
And that should be a good game. St. Joe's Penn should be a good one. I'm looking forward to that game. Fran, I love Fran. I do. I'm a big Fran guy, and St. Joe's got mollywomped by Virginia Tech. Yeah. That was just bad.
Yeah, it was.
That should be a good one.
Steve Donahue is revenge game too.
That's right. He was at Penn. That's right.
Yeah. So
I didn't think about that.
I'm doing that. Tuesday, I'm either going to do the Drexel Udall game.
Right.
Wednesday, I'm doing Villanova at LaSalle. Thursday, I think I'm taking the day off, but Julian will be doing Princeton and Northeastern. I know LA Pratt is out for the year now for Northeastern, so that game lost some luster.
Unfortunately. Yes.
Friday is Penn at Drexel, and then Sunday is Drexel and Old Dominion.
Wow, you've got a lot of Drexel coverage coming.
Drexel has 4 games in 8 days, all at home.
And they did not look good against Syracuse.
No.
It was just...
They look good in the first half. They out-rebounded Syracuse 19-9 in the first half. Then they did have, I think, 11 first half turnovers, and the wheels just fell off in the second half.
Yeah, they were at one point, I think they said on the broadcast they were 2 for 19 at one point in the second half.
Yeah.
It was a rough showing. And look, like Drexel is not a team that was picked to be high in the CAA. I think they were preseason picked like 10th or something in the league. I thought Drexel was going to give Syracuse more of a fight, to be honest with you. And that it isn't a knock on Drexel; it's more a knock on Syracuse. I didn't believe, like you said, in what Red Autry is selling, but I was disappointed with Drexel. I expect Drexel to bounce back in their next game. Whenever they're playing.
They're gonna have to, because I mean they actually held their own in the first half.
They did,
them, but
100%.
Yeah, as I said, wheels completely fell apart after that.
Yeah, it's bad.
So, okay. Otherwise, we appreciate everyone for taking time to watch. Again, it's not too late to go purchase college basketball season preview magazine. I know I keep saying season preview magazine, but you'll still learn something. I mean, whoever your favorite team is playing in the non-conference, I guarantee you don't know everything about that team. So go check it out. It's $8. It is in the pinned tweet on our Twitter bio. Go purchase it. And otherwise, myself, Andrew, we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening.